Hi everyone, Trishna here. Hope you're having a good weekend. Happy Sunday. So in today's video, we're going to be talking more about the things that you can't really see on paper. We're also going to talk about sane spirituality, as I like to call it now, because the spiritual community has gone a little bit insane with all the conspiracy theories. I will address that in a future video. I'm waiting for all the pieces to come into play. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Republican Party and whether or not it's going to split, because I know that's a question that is on a lot of people's minds, especially with everything that happened in January with the Capitol Hill riots and Republicans really having to define who they are as a party. What values do they really have? Are they truly patriots that believe in democracy and support democracy? Or are they more of the Trump brand that thinks it's okay to kind of stage a coup and be domestic terrorists and storm the Capitol building? So that's what I'm going to be talking about today is where is the Republican Party? Are they going to split? What is the energy undertone that's really going on within that group? And we'll also talk a little bit about the Democratic Party as well, because they came up as I was looking into the energy, and there may be some splits going on there as well. So first, the Republican Party. So in order to really understand the answer to the question, is the Republican Party going to split? You have to first understand how the Republican Party currently operates. What is the order of business there? Now, when we think about democracy, when we think about different parties, we think that they operate in a particular way. We think that we are the voters, so Republican voters are the people who have certain values that they align with and choose those values of their own free will or from their family or however it gets instilled. And then they go to the voting booth, vote for their elected official. That elected official, if they turn out to be Republican, that Republican is then working to support their voter base and aligning with them. So that's how we think that things work. We think that it is a bottom up approach. But in reality, the way that the Republican Party works is it is a top down approach. And a lot of us already know this. This isn't entirely news, but a lot of times we forget that that's how that party works. Where we forget that there's one more layer. So we've already talked about the voters, we've talked about the elected officials. There's one more layer right above that. And that is a smaller layer, smaller number of people, two, maybe a few more people than that, who are a very elite, I guess you could say, that 1% group that is the one that actually determines the values of the party, that determines the lines in which they are allowed to color within, that defines the box in which they must stay within. So they're the ones at the top who are actually the ones that are bringing those values down and basically aligning everybody, aligning the elected officials under them, and then aligning the voters under those elected officials. So those elected officials, if they're of the Republican Party, generally they're not actually working to support their voter base. They're not actually working for their interests. Really, they're working for the interests of the very top layer because that top layer is the one that is ultimately keeping them in power. And they like that power. They like it. They like the place in life that they can get by being an elected official. So that's actually how the party is currently operating. Now, with Trump having wreaked havoc on the Republican Party and what it means to be a Republican, there's a lot of chaos going on in the party right now. A lot of differing opinions on how things should move forward with the impeachment trial, or just recently this week, there's a lot going on with the Marjorie Green Taylor person. Maybe it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think it's Marjorie Green Taylor. I'm sorry. You guys know who I'm talking about. So there's a lot of like disagreement or a lot of splitting going on there. If not on the public front, then definitely on the internal front, because it does seem like everybody's kind of banding together on the Republican front, except for like a few. But there is that split that is happening there. And so these upper echelons, these elite few people who really are the ones that are in control of the Republican Party from top down. They're watching everything that's going on. They're watching all this chaos. And they're sitting there and they're waiting to see what happens after the chaos. Because they want to make sure that they're the ones that are maintaining control. Because that allows them to be successful, to make money, to basically control how the world operates because they own half of the game, I guess you could say. Now, these people, they are of the elite, they are of that 1%, so they know how to work with chaos or they understand chaos. And so they know to wait. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but they know to wait. So anyways, they're basically waiting for all this to happen. They are concerned that people are going to start taking control because right now it's them that controls everything. They are concerned. It makes them very uncomfortable that there is a possibility that the voters are going to be the ones now controlling the party. So that's how they're currently feeling right now. Really, it's how it should be, right? The voters should be the ones that are deciding what their values are, not having it dictated to them, whether they know it's being dictated to them or not, right? It's those people at the top aren't really showing up all the time. Like it's not that they're hidden, but they're not really the face of the party, right? They they are the true leaders of the party, but not really the faces that we see. So really, it should be the voters, though, that are deciding the direction of their party, not just a select few, but that is currently how it's operating. So give me a second to look at my notes here. All right. So because that is how the party operates right now, I don't really think much is really going to change with regards to the Republican Party. I don't think there's going to be a huge split. Essentially, what's going to happen is I feel like the voters are going to become slightly more apathetic because they're a little bit tired with everything going on. And that's just going to last for a little bit of time. It's not going to be for forever. But that's how I feel is going to go there. And, maybe they're going to soften a little bit on some of the immigration issues, for example, like soften a little bit in terms of the political landscape. But I think they've kind of been toyed with. And so there's a lot of anger and aggression, and it's going to end up being misplaced. So even though they may soften on the political side of things, and even if the political side of things involves race, like immigration and things like that, in terms of the individual sense, they may end up lashing out, becoming a little bit more aggressive or becoming a little bit more racist. Now, not all of them, but I feel like there's going to be some little croppings of that here and there, like a person here, a person there, kind of doing that. So that's how the voter base is going to kind of feel. Be a little bit more apathetic, be a little bit more tired, not quite as staunch on some of the immigration issues as maybe they were before, but still kind of letting out some of their aggression in some more racist or other stereotypical ways, I guess. In terms of the elected officials, the way that I see them proceeding is I see them getting a little bit quiet, not really acting as much, not really doing as much. I feel like it's going to last a little bit as well, because really what they're doing is they're waiting for direction from their leaders, from that elite. And actually, that's what the supporters are doing as well. They're confused by everything that's going on. They're not entirely sure who they are, how to identify. So they're looking to their elected officials, hoping to get some guidance from them, hoping to get some direction for them. Who am I, elected official? I elected you, so please tell me who I am. And the elected officials are kind of still playing the game because the elected officials are getting their direction from the top. So the supporters are watching their officials and mentally they're kind of aligning with them. It's very Republican or of the Republican Party to kind of fall in line with the top, right? That's just kind of how the party tends to operate. And so they're looking at their elected officials and they're kind of mentally agreeing with them, but emotionally and I think energetically there's some hesitations. And even the elected officials, I think, are a little bit tired of always being the bad guy, and they're wanting to be more of the good guy. Some of them are wanting to switch how they're moving forward as well. But again, it's not really up to them, it's up to the top, that 1% that really is the one controlling the party, regardless of whether you realize that that is happening or not. So that's where things are. And because of that tight control, and I feel like that's going to end up being maintained. So yes, the voter base is going to be softer. Yes, the officials are going to be a little bit quieter, but ultimately the values are going to stay the same. Most of it's going to be ultimately the same going forward because the control is maintained at the top. And yeah, finally, basically what I'm seeing is the top is just very strong, so they're going to be able to maintain that strength and that kind of control over the party. And there may be some smaller splits. So there may be some factions of the overall Republican Party that does tend to split off, maybe in the voter base, maybe a couple officials here and there. But they're going to be pretty small. Overall, I think the party is actually going to stay intact. And that's really just how I see the party operating. So I think the answer to the question, is the Republican Party going to split? I think the answer to that question is actually no. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Democratic Party for a second here, because in all relationships, there is always mirroring going on. So, in the political landscape, the biggest relationship that we really have right now is a relationship between the Republicans and the Democrats. They take center stage in the political spectrum, and they tend to butt heads a lot more, but they also are in a relationship where they have to work together because ultimately it's for the good of the country, the good of the relationship. So there is that relationship. And again, like I was saying, in relationships, there is always mirroring. So the Republican Party is having to figure out who they are and are they going to split or are they going to stay together? For the Republicans, they're doing that in the spectrum of what are their values and how do they define themselves going forward. Are they a Republican like before the Trump era, or are they more of a Trump kind of Republican? And the Democrats are also having a bit of a split as well. But for them, it's not about values. The values are pretty much kind of there. There isn't really a lot of question there. But it is around mm, their approach. How are they going to approach politics going forward? Democrats tend to be a little bit more harmonious, not really wanting to push the boundaries the way that Republicans want to. And I think that that has already started shifting. We can already see that with some of the players that we have in the Democratic in the yeah wait, what am I saying? The Democratic Party, like AOC, really likes to move forward. It isn't about like harmony for harmony's sake. It's about doing the right thing, kind of thing. So we're gonna see that kind of split, that kind of alteration, that kind of transformation of are we still just going to be the harmonious party or are we going to change our approach? Are we going to come with a stronger footing? Because Democrats tend to be a little bit weaker in that respect. So that's the kind of division and split that's currently happening in the Democratic Party and also the transition that they're going to have. Now, overall, how I see them transforming is I don't really see them splitting. I do feel like it's going to take them longer than the Republican Party to really bring that unity again within their party. And I do see them being a much stronger party. So they're going to have much stronger players entering the party, as we've already seen. And also, those in the party are going to be acting more strongly as well. And so all of this really mirrors the country as well, because we have a divide in the country, but then we have a divide in the biggest players, the biggest groups within the country as well. And all of that is moving towards unity. If you haven't seen my Will America Find Unity or Will Biden Bring Unity to America video, I talk about this a little bit in there where we are moving towards unity. And so when we look at the Republican Party and we see that there may be a split, know that there is going to be a unity. And with the Democrats, there is also a split. We may not notice that as much because right now it's really the spotlight is on the Republican Party, but there is also a split there and there will also be unity there as well. So that is what I had to share on this topic. I am curious about your thoughts. Do you think the Republican Party is going to stay together and unite? Do you think that they're going to split? How do you see the transformation happening? I'm definitely curious to know your thoughts around that. Have you also noticed the split in the Democratic Party? Or was this the first time that maybe you've considered that? Let me know your thoughts around that as well. And if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button if you like the video, hit the dislike button if you dislike the video. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in my next video.